Hello and welcome to Jamie's Motion Graphics, episode 21. Today we're making this. All of this has been made in After Effects and all of this has been made from scratch. I will show you step by step how you can make it yourself. Okay, here we are in After Effects. As usual, we are going to start with a new composition, 1280 by 720, 30 frames per second, and we're going to make it a little bit larger than this, 30 seconds. And we're not going to use all of that, but yeah, we're going to do it like this anyway. We're going to start off by a new solid. This is just going to be our background, and it is going to be not gray, but something like this. I don't know, something light, something fun to work on. And we're going to start by using a shape layer. I don't really like using shape layers normally, but this is an effect where shape layers come in very handy, and well, yeah, might as well use them then, because that's why they're there. We're going to start by getting a rectangle. The fill, let's make it into something, yeah, black, I guess. And we don't need a stroke, so just hit on the stroke itself, so the word, and just set it to the one with the stripe through it, the red stripe, which means no stroke in this case. So yeah, just hit the stroke here, hit delete, and you should be fine. So from the size here, we're going to set it to, let's make it 100. That's actually small, right? By 0, which means that it's now kind of, oh, hang on. Don't, yeah. Unlock it first. Unlock it, make it 100 by 0, and it's a line now. So it's going to start in the middle. That's kind of our point here, and then we're going to move it upwards. So currently it has position 6.5. Reset that to 0. So that's in transform, by the way. So you have several things. Let me explain this first so you understand how this works. So we're starting off with this. So you have in your layer, you have your contents. Then in the contents you have rectangle in this case, and then you have transform. So this transform is for the entire layer. And that means if you move this around, you move the entire layer, including anything on it. So it may seem like a good plan to use this to position your items, but it's not. Just leave this to what it is, 640 by 360, which is the middle point, and then just set up everything else with its own transforms. And here you can see, if I click on rectangle, well, the triangle next to it, you see transform rectangle 1, and this also has a position, and that can be used to position it without modifying the rest of the layer. So the rest of the items will be exactly the same. So my anchor point is in 0, 0 currently, and that means the middle, but I can also make it like move over there, and then the layer anchor point will still be in the middle, but this one will be on the left side of this item. Yeah, you don't really see the difference here, but trust me, there is a difference. Just use the local transforms if you want to move this thing around. And did I reset it to 0? Yes, I did. Okay, so scale is 0, position is 0, anchor point is 0, everything is fine. So what we now want is from the rectangle path to modify that position. We're going to have half a second of silence, let's say. Oh, let's zoom in a little bit. If you're having trouble finding your keyframes, you can zoom in the top bar. That makes it a lot easier. Also, page up, page down allows you to go through the time bar one frame at a time, and you can see on the left here where you actually are. So we're going to go into this. We're going to set the size as well as the position as a keyframe. Well, the position, actually I can use this one. I can also use the transform here. That's basically the same. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. So we're going to go over here now, and we're going to set the size to the exact opposite, which is 0, 100. So the position is obviously going to change as well, and we're going to move it upwards. So the movement upwards here depends on, so how far you move it upward depends on what you want to make out of this. So currently it looks like this, and if you want that to move really quickly, then you move them further up than if you want to let it move really slowly. It's really as easy as that. So anyway, currently, yeah, well, I've showed it to you several times now. It looks like that. It's half a second. It's probably too long, but I want to keep it nice and long so we can modify it later, because we can modify the things to get more pixels or more frames, sorry, less frames, but making more frames is kind of hard. So we're going to probably use this as a separate element. In fact, if you want to use it as a separate element, which I now think we should do, we are going to move this to 0, so we actually have a little bit more control. We can move this to 1, that way we get even more detail in our transformation, and then if we use it later on, we will have the opportunity to just tune this down. So let's first of all create this effect, and then we'll see how that actually works. Hit the add button, well, the little triangle next to it, I guess, or the play button. We're going to add a repeater. I've used repeaters several times already, so you should know by now how it works. We're going to go into the transform of the repeater. So the repeater also has its own transform, and this is how much each next copy will move or rotate or do something. So we're going to set the position to 0 because we want something round. We don't want it to move, we want it to have the same point of origin and not something else. Although you can use that, of course. So we're going to set the scale to what it already is and the rotation to 360 divided by the number that we choose. So let's make it something fancy. So yeah, we only have to do this once. Alt-click on the stopwatch and just pick with this, which means take this parenting tool and then just drop it on copies. And then we're going to have that value over here. It is, it's a pretty long value, but yeah, fine. And then we're going to type 360 divided by that value. So that means that if we go in here and we make this into, or we look forward. So now currently we have 3 of them, and they're 120 degrees apart, and you can see that over here. So if we make this more, then it automatically scales with it. So currently I have 12, and apparently that calculates to 30 degrees. But I don't have to change anything. I can just adjust this and then say, okay, this is fine. I want this. And I can actually combine multiples of these. So let's imagine we want to make a more complicated effect. Then I can just say, well, I have this rectangle now, and this rectangle does this. Yeah, so it kind of has an interesting effect. But yeah, we want more than just this one. So let's say we want multiples of this effect. We're going to go to the layer, we're going to duplicate the layer, which you can do by Control-D or just go to Edit, Duplicate. And then we're going to go into the effect, so into the Contents, Rectangle, and this is the same thing that we had before, only now in a new layer. So we can actually say we want more copies on this one, or less copies. Let's make it 3 copies. So 3 copies, and we're going to move the effect a little bit in time, just so we can see the difference between the two. I'm going to move it to like 1 second, and that means that now we have 3 of them. And this one will work just as well as the other one. I kind of hid my thing here, but it will work just as well as the other one. If we want this many copies, I don't even know how many there are, it will just work. And that is the beauty of expressions. You only need to do it once, and then the effect will work for how many times you want. Anyway, we're going to delete this one because we don't really need it. And we're going to say, well, this effect is done. Let's set it to a couple more though. And go to repeater, go to the copies, and just set it to like 8. That seems about right. Yeah. So currently, that's how it works. Now we're going to go to a next comp, and we're going to create a next effect. So we can actually just make a new composition. I call it comp 2, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to just use this background. Oh, I locked it. Just cut and paste that in there. We're going to get a new shape layer once again. So shape layers have this repeater, which makes this very easy to do, and well, that's why I picked them. So let's make another effect. Currently we are going for the ellipse tool, I guess, and we're going to just draw an ellipse. If you hold shift, then it becomes a perfect circle. So you can draw perfect circles without having to actually type it in. It's not a problem because we are going to type it in anyway. So we're going to, here you can see the size path is 150 currently. If you don't have an equal amount, obviously you need to unlock the constraint properties, because otherwise it doesn't work. And once again, we're going to the ellipse 1 transform and setting that to 0, 0. 0, 0 is where the layer is centered, so that is the 0, 0, the exact midpoint. Yeah, the size really doesn't matter because we're going to scale it over time. And we're going to move it around. So currently this is going to have, as I said, scaling on it. It's going to, well, we can do that with scale or with size. I guess size is a little bit better to do. And we're going to get position. It doesn't really matter. It's just that, yeah, you need to choose one or the other and not both. And since I chose, well, this one, so the size and position on the other one as well, I want to keep kind of the standardized thing. So currently the size is okay, the position needs to go up. So we're going to start upwards, and it's going to, well, be 0 in the beginning, the size that is. So the size is going to start off as 0, and then towards the end it's going to be big. Or we can do it exactly the opposite, which is make this 150 and make this one 0. And let's see what that looks like. Oh, it's actually a cute effect. So once again, we're going to add a repeater. And yeah, here you can see the translation in effect. We don't want that, so we're going to immediately go through the transform. We're going to set this to 0. And we're going to add the same expression to the rotation. So once again, Alt-click the stopwatch, then just pick whip to the amount of copies, and just put 360 divided by that expression. And that should all work out. So currently that looks like this. And if we add more, so if we add more copies, then it looks like this. So it kind of looks like a fade out. And we may actually want to only start it like over here. So we can actually do that by just setting new keyframes and then just dragging them to the originals. And then we have this effect. Instead of it starting from the mid, it actually now starts from, well, this. And that can actually be a really cool effect if we want that. But since we can always do this, so we don't have to do that now, we can do that afterwards. The effect that we're creating here with these, how many? 17 balls, that's what matters. We're going to make 12, I think, 16. 17 is a weird number, so I don't like that. It doesn't fit in well with the other one. And this one actually looks great. So yeah, this one has been made. Let's actually rename them. So this one is line explode, and the second one is ball explode. So both of them start at 0, so that's excellent. And we're going to make a new one now, new composition. You can make all these elements one by one. This one is going to be, I don't even know what to make at this point, ring explode. I'm just trying to make it clear for myself what is in the composition, so that when I make my final design, I don't have to check every effect every time. So once again, shape layer, and let's once again copy this background. Well, not copy, but because we can't have a background in our things. So I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to paste it in this one, just so I see what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'm kind of stuck with a black background, and I don't like that. So yeah, it's just for the vision. It doesn't matter at all. So we're going to make a ring. Rings are a little bit more difficult. Well, you can make them in two ways. First of all, the easy way would be to make it like this. So to just make a circle. Then you go to the ellipse path first of all. You unlock this, you say 150, 150, and then you delete the fill and you set the stroke, because that's currently 0 as well. You set the stroke to, I don't know, 20, maybe a little bit more. The color is going to be black, because the other two were black as well. I don't know where my stroke is currently. It is supposed to show up. Did I? Oh, I turned it off completely. So we need to enable that again. That's why. So currently our color is vaguely whatever, but we want that to be black. And so the width here is basically how thick the circle is. And yeah, that's fine. So let's animate that. The thickness of the stroke, as well as the position and the size. So we have 3 things to actually do, which means the circle is going to expand, which is the size. It's going to maybe change position. I don't actually think that's good, but well, we can do it. We can see what it looks like. And then the stroke width is just, well, exactly what I showed you. If you make it bigger, then it becomes bigger. It's as easy as that. So currently we just set it to a random number. It doesn't matter. You can also add dashes if you like that. So if you want to make something with dashes or whatever, you can change that. If you click the plus again, you get the gap control, which allows you to put multiples in there the way you want, and just line it up perfectly for your animation. But yeah, this is kind of an effect that you can use if you want those kind of lines, and you can see what it does. Anyway, we don't want dashes. We just want this thing to to work. Currently, we didn't center our thing yet, so we're going to do that first. Back to 0, 0 with you, and then we're going to first of all see what it is with. No, first we're going to do without the position change. So first of all, the size at 0 should be 0. Oh, let's lock that again. The size at 0 should be, no, it shouldn't be 0. It should be like 50, maybe even more. Let's make it 100. And the stroke width should be 100 as well. Well, actually the size should be 0 then. I kind of confused the two. But yeah. Once again, let's zoom in on the timeline, and we will see at 1 second. So I'm making everything just 1 second, just for the fun of it. The stroke width should be 0, and the size should be, I don't know, 300, maybe even more, probably a lot more like that. Let's make it 600. Okay, so what it looks like now is this. It will expand, and then it will kind of fade away to nothingness, which is kind of, well, it's cool. We can actually make the stroke a little bit bigger in the beginning. 150, that's not a little, that's actually quite a lot. And that makes the the movement a little more explosive, which is exactly what we want. Okay, now we're going to have the effect here, and that's cool and all, but let's add a little bit of extra. We have 1 second, and now we're going to go 1/3 of a second into the future, so 10 frames. We're going to copy these points, just copy paste, Control C, Control V. Go 1 frame into the future. Actually, let's put these 1 into the past. So that's only 1. Yeah, I'm zoomed in pretty heavily here. So this is the size of one of your frames, just for reference. The bar next to your line. Anyhow, currently nothing happens between this. And so now we want something to happen because we want this to once again flash up. Like a little bit bigger. We can actually make it a little bit bigger here. Just make it or a little bit smaller here, and then we can make it just 600. It doesn't matter because the size is not there. So currently the size is 600. It was already in our last frame, but the stroke is still 0. And we want the stroke to be back at, let's say, 50. And then one frame, oh, that's a little bit too big for what I intended to do, 10. Yeah, that's better. Then we go one frame into the future, and we set the stroke back to 0. So what we created now is an after explosion, let's call it. So it times out, and then we have one frame of this thing coming back. And you can see it's really quick, and it may actually not be like good enough because we're going to speed this up, obviously. So it may actually not be good enough, but it kind of gives you the feeling that it goes outwards and then it explodes. So yeah, well, I don't know. It's just something to add. So the ring explode is done. Let's make a new composition. Let's think up something new. This one is going to be rotating star explosion. Yeah, if you have different things to add, obviously, anything you can think up that just goes from the middle outwards can be seen as an explosion. So we're going to just straight up start with, oh yeah, hang on. We're going to start with shape layer. Yeah, if you don't have a layer selected, it will automatically make a shape layer, but I had one selected. So we're going to go with the star, and as you can see, mine has a little bit too many points. You can use the mouse wheel to turn that back. The nicest star is, of course, the 5-point star. That's just the nicest for people to see, but that doesn't mean that's the only one you can use. Actually, I like the 8-point as well. Let's use a 10-point star. It's not used that often, and it's actually cool. So you can, of course, modify that, all of that, in the things, in the transforms here, or the, well, I don't know. I don't even know what you call this, but in the path, I guess. So here it says 10 points, and that's exactly what it is. So currently, what we want to do is first of all center it. So go to 0, 0. The size should be, so the inner side radius, outer radius, you can set that. Currently, we want something like, I don't know, 75, 150. Just, yeah. I don't know why. It doesn't matter because we're going to modify it anyway. It's just that this is probably going to be our end star. So let's modify position, rotation. No, not this rotation. This is why I wanted to show you this. We're going to make a rotating explosion, and that's what I wanted to show you. So this rotation will rotate it like that. You can, of course, just set that to 0, and that's the way it should be. If you're drawing the shape and you hold Shift, it will automatically go to 0, or 90, or, well, no, 45, 90, yeah, and so on. So currently we have everything set, and we can go with the position, the size. Where is the size? Oh, that's the inner and outer radius, I guess. But we can also just go with scale. Then we keep the same star, it just scales up. So we're going to go with scale, and we're going to go with the rotation. Oh, I'll show you later. So this rotation also rotates the star, only the star, and we don't want that. We want the entire thing to rotate, the entire, well, star system. So let's first make a star system. Let's first animate this into, so from position 0, 0, we want to go to, hang on, in 1 second. We want to go somewhere, so we're going to go up, I guess. It doesn't matter whether you go up, left, right, because, well, we're going to duplicate it. So yeah, you can do whatever you want. The size is pretty big, so let's first of all scale that down a little bit. The scaling goes from the center, so you may have to address your new position again, or your end position. And then the beginning, here we go away from the anchor point. That's why the scaling kind of looks weird. You can of course get your anchor point to just follow, which is fine as well. You can do whatever you want. I currently am not too concerned with it. So currently scaling is 50%, the end position is fine, and it does make kind of a weird transition because of the scaling. But well, we'll set the scaling in the beginning to, I don't know, 0% would probably be best. So it will now go up and then make this. So obviously we are going to, let's zoom in a little bit more, we are going to add a repeater because, well, we want a circular effect. Repeater, once again, go to the repeater properties, and so the transforms, and add 0 here, and add the expression, Alt-click on the stopwatch, add the same expression to this thing, so 360 divided by the copies. And there you go. So now we have 3 stars, we can make more. We don't want too many. Divide by 0. Oh, I made 0 copies. Yeah, that's not smart, obviously. Yeah, it disabled my my thing. It disabled my expression, so you will have to basically do it again. Just click on it and then hit enter, the one, the return, I mean, the one next to your keypad, and don't set this to 0. That's basically it. Yeah, we're going to have like 8, for example. That seems about right. Or if we make them smaller, so let's go to the original polystar. We can change it here and just go to the, oh, it's all the way on under everything else. So let's set it to 25%. Then of course we need to modify the position, which is up here, and set it to -1000. That the position is also scaled. That's why it becomes so big. -1000 becomes -250, and since the entire thing is 360, yeah, that's why it looks so such a big number. So now we can make more, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to have a bunch of stars. And no, maybe not. Maybe I want 8, and I want multiple layers of stars, because we can just copy this entire effect and then make multiple layers if we want to. Yeah, let's have this. So this looks good now. Now we need to rotate it. So how we rotate this is we have to take the original transform, so the one from the layer, and I will show you how that works. So here's our polystar, and then one layer back, there's a transform for the entire thing here, for the entire layer. And we want that rotation to be, let's say, 90 degrees at 1 second, and 0 at 0 seconds. So that way, the entire thing rotates. And yeah, I don't know if the rotation is enough. I think we need to make it, well, I think 90 seconds will be enough, because this is going to be a very small effect, or a very quick effect, and I think 180 will be too much, but we'll see. And you can see that it actually rotates the entire layer, and that is why if you make multiple objects on one layer, you don't want it like this. So let's duplicate this layer and offset it by a few frames, let's say 5 frames. And then, yeah, you can already see what's happening. You get multiple stars. So they don't exist, and then they come in and they rotate, and the other ones rotate as well. So maybe you're like, okay, but I want it to stop right here. So when this layer stops, the other layers should stop as well. Well, you can by just either cutting down this layer, or just going to U, which brings up all of your stuff, and then just setting keyframes where on all of the things that actually get animated, and then deleting everything that's beyond that point. And that means that now it stops. So it rotates and then it stops. And then we can do this again. So we can duplicate it again, offset it by 5 frames, hit U, just go to the same position, and then set all the keyframes, and then delete all the future keyframes. That way it will look like this. So you can make all kinds of things. You can also say, well, I want them to rotate a little bit more. So over the time, let's say I wanted this layer. So let's first delete this. I'm going to demo this. We're duplicating this layer, but instead of it offsetting it, we want it to just come in and end up between these. So just go to the rotation, click on rotation, so you select all the keyframes, and just add a little bit more to it. So currently that would be something like this. And then what happens is you actually get more stars. Well, actually I didn't, because I messed up where I set my keyframe. But yeah, if you do it correctly, you will have it like this. And yeah, this looks pretty terrible because the beginning is not offset. Let's set this to, I don't even know what to make of this. It was 180, now it's 200, so it's 20 degrees apparently. So we're going to set the rotation to 20 degrees. I kind of assumed that both of them would update, and now it's perfectly fine. Well, it's actually 22.5, I guess. It's a little bit more, like 202.5. Yeah, there you go. So it's 22.5 degrees because, you know, that's just the way it is. You can calculate it, and I kind of was too lazy. But yeah, at least I know what's going wrong. So let's say you like this effect, but you don't like that it's becoming a ring of stars. You can just say, okay, let's, for the second layer, I actually modified this one, it doesn't matter, but because they're the same. We're going to say, okay, let's scale it back a little. Let's put it over there. And then, if we look at it, it actually becomes a different effect. So now we didn't offset them, but the end position is kind of similar. We have big stars, we have small stars, and you can of course do whatever you want with this effect. Currently, I'm just going to leave it with this one layer of stars that is just coming in and settling, because we can make all those modifications later on, except for how many stars we want. That is kind of set. So if I set 8 stars here, it's going to be 8 stars. The timing can be changed, the color can be changed, all those kind of things can be changed, and that is the way it is. So let's say we have, oh, let's cut this instead of deleting it. We have 4 effects now. We have the line, the ball, the ring, and the rotating star. Let's now make a design composition. So it's called design. Wow. I'm so ingenious with these names, man. Backgrounds, I just copied that in just to have something to work on. We can of course modify that if we want to. We're going to just plop in our things as we go. We're going to start with the line explode, I guess. So that one is going to be just the way it is originally, but let's say we want it to be a little bit faster. First of all, let's zoom in and see, because it ends at 1 second. So we're going to go to 1 second and 1 frame, and then we're going to cut this layer, split the layer, sorry, that's what it's called. So with the layer selected, you select split layer or Control-Shift-D, which I can't do because my recording software doesn't agree with that. I get a pen on screen then instead of the effect. And so now we have this effect, right? So let's right click it, go to time, enable time remapping. Time remapping is basically a very easy thing to understand. You set a keyframe, in this case at 1 second, and then if I drag this forward to, let's say, half a second, this is about half a second, yeah, then the effect that used to happen from 0 to 1 now happens from 0 to 15, so to half a second. And you can see that, there you go. If you want to move it further, forward, of course that still works, and then the effect ends at 10. So it's really easy to understand. It becomes a little more complex if you want to do, well, fancy things with it, but you can definitely see that it's an easy effect. So 10 frames seems about right. We could also do it like this, by the way. If we delete the time remap, we could also go to time stretch, and then it says stretch factor. So do I want to stretch it? Do I want to make it smaller? So in this case, for example, I want to make it 25%, and you can see that the new duration changes. So if I go to 100, it says 1 second and 1 frame. So, and if I go and make it 33.3%, then it becomes 11 frames. And that does exactly the same, but you don't have the flexibility that you would have with the other one. So you can see how that works. It is just, now it's a number. It used to be that you could manually just set your keyframes, and you can speed up part of the layer, and well, part of the layer can be like normal speed, part of the layer can be sped up, part of the layer can be slowed down. You can modify it a little bit more than with this, but currently we don't need anything fancier. We have this, and we're going to just add one more. So let's make another line explode. Control D, offset by a few frames, and just find something that you find enjoyable. Maybe you want to rotate it. Just hit R for rotation. Just say, well, I want to rotate it by 22.5 degrees. It's 22,2. I don't know if they changed that in future versions, but yeah, you can see that it may actually need to be faster. You can see that it now is like offset by half of the distance between the two. And maybe you want to do one more. So duplicate it again. And currently we have this at 4, so we want the next one to be at 8. There you go. So now we have 3 explosions behind each other. And maybe we want to do more. I don't know. It's that's what this design comp is for, to just design the final effect. We have all the tools now. That actually looks pretty good. So we're going to let that explode until it's done. Here it's done, so let's go to 20 and insert the ball explode right there. So for the ball explode, we're going to do the same thing. Oh, first of all, we're going to cut it at 1 second and 1 frame. Go to edit, split layer, just delete it out. And then we're going to time stretch it. So time, right click time stretch, 33.3%. That's 1/3, obviously. And we're going to put that over here. So now we have this ball explode. And let's say we want multiples of those as well. So duplicate. Or did I? Yeah, I put this one to the wrong rotation. As you can see now, it's lined up with the other one. So we can just reset the rotation. Just hit R. Just set it to 0 or to 45 degrees, whatever you feel like. So, and now it's offset, I just remembered. So yeah, let's offset these by a couple of frames. I don't know how many those are. This is 20, so this is 25, meaning that this should be 30. So it's offset a little bit more than the other one. And you can see that it actually looks cool. It looks cool because it is cool. So we can, of course, say, well, it's a little bit too fast. We can reset the time stretch effect. So time stretch. Instead of this, we want to have 50%. And then we have one slower one and 2 faster ones, which can actually lead to pretty amusing things. So yeah, let's line it up so it actually looks as weird as we can get it. I don't know which one is the... Yeah, this kind of looks okay. It's kind of what I wanted. So now it looks like a really weird explosion. I don't know. Let's set all of them to 50%. I don't know if it will accept multiples, but I'm assuming it does. It will. Okay. So let's instead of making 3 separate explosions, make one big explosion. So once these balls actually form, so here we go. Then we can see the balls. That's kind of what I wanted. And now we're going to make these match up with the other ones. Doesn't matter whether it's to the front or to the back, because we can always reverse the layers if we really have trouble with it visually. Just duplicate and then put it one forward. I guess we have to move two forward. So yeah, make sure that the distance between each of the layers is kind of the same. So it will now look something like this, which is kind of a different effect than what we normally see. So yeah, they're offset by 2, which means that we can also do that in the other direction. And we can also switch the layers if we really wanted to. There you go. And you can of course make the layers different colors. Let's show that as well. Hit the tint, so go to tint, drop the tint on one of the layers, let's say on this one. So currently what it does is it transforms nothing, because it transforms black to black and white to white. Since these things are completely black, we only have to do the black and we can just select the color. I want to have that color on my thing, and then you can see that that one layer actually becomes that color. And we copy, so Control C, the tint effect. We go to the next layer, we Control V, and we say, well, we want to have this color on there. And then we're going to say to this one, Control V, we want to have this color on there. No, a little bit different. So yeah, you can see here the different colors. If you don't like them, stuff cookies. I like them. Anyway, so that's how you color them. It's really easy and it shouldn't be too hard to understand what's going on. So you can make as many layers of these as you want, of course. I currently want one more, I guess. Just because, well, I like it. I like the colors, I like the just whole structure. And this one, because I now duplicated a layer that already had the tint effect on it, so this one doesn't need the separate tint effect. It's just because I colored it afterwards that it actually matters. Or wanted to color it afterwards. We can actually make some more. Let's duplicate like multiples, just to speed it up a little. Control D. I don't know why it doesn't want me to Control D this. There you go. Apparently something went wrong, but I don't really care. So 1, 2 into the future, and then we can color these new layers. We can actually leave it like this and repeat all the colors if that's what you want. That's what you get. So just select the one layer, make it into something that actually matches with the blue a little bit. Why is it all the way over there? Hang on. So this layer should be in the middle now. And it appeared to color something else. No, it didn't. Okay, that was my bad. So we're going to go into the purple here. Let's make something purple happen. And then this one. So let's. Oh, that's because yeah, I was over here. That's why. That's why it appeared to do things at the edge when I thought I was in the middle, but I wasn't in the middle because I was further in the front than I thought. So yeah, next to the purple we're going to get some pink, I guess. Let's take a dark pink first, then a bright pink for the next layer. And yeah, that actually colors really well. So now we're going to go into red. A little bit of reddish pink, and then really into the red. It's a little bit too red. Let's tune it back a little bit. And that is going to be our final one. Obviously, you can keep doing this all day long. Like, you can keep adding layers all day long. It will look great. And there you see your explosions. And yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, let's insert our next thing from our project directory here. We did the line explode, we did the ball explode. Let's get some rings in there. Obviously, you can put the rings in with these guys. So if you're saying like, okay, I want the ring to be part of this, then you can do that as well. Here, you can just move it over there. and explode it at the same time. It doesn't look good in my opinion, but hey, that's the way it is. That's what design is. It's your opinion that matters. So go to 1 second, 1 frame, and just cut it again. Don't cut it, but split it. And delete the part that's in the back. Time stretch this if you want to. I made these layers, I already explained that, but I want to make sure that you understand why I do that. I made these layers too long because you get more detail and you get the control anyway. I mean, it looks exactly the same now that it would look if I made this effect immediately like this, but now I can actually play around with how long I want this effect to be. So currently I want this new effect to start right about here. It is a lot faster than the other one, so you can see it here. And here is where I was worried. Yeah, you can see that my explosion that I made in the end doesn't come true. So it kind of gets blocked out by the fact that I sped it up. So we're going to the ring explode. We're going to the last explosion, and let's see, U actually brings up all of this. So we're going to see it's over here, and we're going to make that 2 more frames. So now it's going to come up and be there for 3 frames total, one of which is going to be the maximum size, but we want all 3 of them to be the maximum size. Oh, that's my bad. Copy. So I dragged this maximum stroke to the front. So it goes from 0 to maximum, and this should still be maximum, and then it goes back to 0. But yeah, you have to... Oh, I also cut it at the wrong time, I just realized. That's why it didn't show up at all. You have to have stroke 10 here as well, because if you don't, then it will fade out from 10 over here in 3 frames to 0. So you can see here, now it's 3.3 where we want it to be 10. So you can just fill it in like that. Yeah, apparently this thing runs to 115, so we have to cut this one at 115 and not at 101. Oh, I'm now undoing all of this. Yeah, let's not do that. Yeah, sorry, I thought I could undo that like that, but apparently it just takes the entire program into account. Time stretch 100, and then instead of, so I'm going to put it back to this, instead of this we're going to drag it to 115, and now it's cut at 115, well actually 16, now 15. And then we're going to speed it up. Time stretch 50%, no I actually had 25%. Time stretch 25%, and we wanted it to come in somewhere over here. And there you go. Yeah, now you can see that there's 1 frame where the thing actually happens. So yeah, I don't know exactly how they made this specific algorithm, so the time stretch algorithm, but normally you take, if you up it by 20, or if you make it 25%, you take frame number 1, then frame number 5, then frame number, what's that, like, I don't even know, 9 I guess. So you take every 4th frame. So if you make it 50%, it would take frame 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. So if it works like that, then you can actually see which frame it will pick up, and you can just make that. You can also just make it 4 frames wide. So currently I made it 3 frames wide. This is not the right one. This is the right one. So I made it 3 frames wide. I should have made it 4 frames wide if I want to make it 25%. The problem is, if I want to make it 50%, now it will show 2 frames. So it's kind of messy, but hey, there you go. Now it will still show only 1 frame. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. So it's all dependent on what you want to make with it. So you can also put the secondary explosion in a separate comp and just put that in afterwards or something like that. So we're going to make multiple of these ring explosions, and we're going to time stretch them differently, so that we kind of have a different effect than what we've seen so far. So let's make this 33.3. Let's make this one time stretch 50%. So this one will now have 2 frames in the back here where it actually shows up. So this frame and the next frame. And if you want to prevent that, just, well, make your layer shorter. It will just, it's just easy to fix in this case. So currently what we want is we want to have a cool effect to begin with, which is not this. Yeah, so it needs to be empty before the next one shows up. And then this is actually cute, and it's slower than the other one. So hang on, this is so this is this big before the next one shows up. The next one actually fits into it perfectly. So let's make it like this and see what happens. Yeah, so this is a little bit too big. You can just hit scale, and if you want to, you can just scale it from this point and just unscale it at this point. So make it smaller for 1 frame. So we're going to set it to 100% over here, but it's going to be like a tiny bit smaller over here. So just hit Control and just drag it over until you agree with how big it is. Control is for, so that's kind of what I was looking for. See, it's the same now for both of them. And it becomes slower. That's basically what's happening here. So the first one is really fast, and the second one is a lot slower, and the third one is even slower than that. So what this does is it scales down only this 1 frame, well, and the frame before it, but there's nothing there. So, and then the next frame, it will be back to 100%, so the rest of the animation will be just as it's supposed to be. Yeah, just a little trick to get those nasty little buggy keyframes out of the way. So we're not going to be satisfied with this, of course. This is how we want to set it up eventually, but we may actually want to do something before this happens. I kind of like the really fast ones, so let's set up a few of those. So this one is offset by what? 1, 2, 3 frames. Then this one comes in. So let's go 1, 2, 3 and just line it up with that. So now we have a bunch of these really fast explosions, and I think they need to be lined up a little bit better. Okay, and then these two, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what that looks like. Explosion, 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 explosion. Yeah, you can see that in the beginning they fill up the entire space. So I want to place them 1 further apart so that you actually get this effect when the new one comes in. So instead of having this huge black ball on screen like this, we want it to look more like this, which is way nicer. And now we can actually see what it does. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 frames between them. That's 4 frames, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these come in 3 frames after that one. Oh, sorry. And there you go. So currently it looks like this. It's a lot of explosions, and it doesn't really show up because I have the skip frames on. So I might actually be able to show you, but it will be slower than it normally would be. Oh, wow, it's still pretty fast. Okay, let's add 100% behind this one. So duplicate the layer first. I kind of forgot. And then set it to time stretch 100%. And then we're going to find the moment when this one comes in. So that is like right here. And then we're going to want to match that up with, well, so that it looks like this. And you can once again scale this to look the same as your previous one. So if you want to have it look like that, that is fine. Oh, it was already scaled. Anyway, let's just scale it back to 100% straight away. There you go, back at 100%. Yeah, because I copied from this layer, which already had the scaling on it, that's why it's kind of messed up. So you can see it, by the way. You can see that it doesn't grow between these two keyframes. If that's not what you want, you can just set it to 0 or to 100% at like here, and then, or don't set it to 100%, that's fine as well. So now you will still see it grow. It will still grow between this one and the next one. And it's just really slow. Anyhow, the entire thing now looks like this. And there it's done. So yeah, you can make obviously whatever composition you want, but my main point here was you make, oh, I don't have the rotating star explosion yet, but you basically make your elements in separate compositions, then you put them into a design and you modify the design. You don't go modifying, oh, that's my bad. You don't go modifying the well, the individual components inside of this, because this is already messy. As you can see, I have quite a lot of stuff in here. I don't want to modify every single one of them in here, because that would just be, well, very stupid to do. So this one ends at 1 second. So let's go to 101, hit the edit, split layer, delete the thing that's past it, and then let's set the time stretch to, I don't know, 33.3 seemed to work out pretty well for most of them. And let's see where we can actually put this in. So this is the last one. We may actually be able to do it like this, and then to go out and make it fit. So right at the moment this one hits the maximum, we want it to look kind of cool. So yeah, that's not here because the other layer is completely gone at this point. So yeah, I think we need to do it like this. No, this one comes for 1 frame, or no, this is actually multiple frames as well, of course. So if you don't like that, just tune down the layer until you have 1 frame remaining, so 1 longer. And now, once again, page up, page down, scrolls through the frames one by one, and you can basically just modify your stars to do what you want. You can also slow them down. Let's just do different stars now. But you can also say, like, I want the stars to kind of hover halfway through, so let's do that. Let's do that. Time, enable time remap, and we're going to go to the end first. We're going to set a keyframe at the last position that we have, which is this one, and just say between this and this, well, that's what we want. This is what we want. But now we want to stretch kind of the middle part, so it has to hover, kind of slow down the movement. So we're going to set a keyframe here. We're going to set a keyframe like, I don't know, 2 frames forward. And now we're going to select both of these. I'll explain it what I do later, but I'm going to drag them out, and I'm going to extend the layer. So what it does now is it comes in, then it slows down, and then it speeds up again. So what happened here is, I'll put it back to how it was. This is what I made. I made 4 points, 2 of which are close together. Then I dragged the last 2 points. The time between these last 2 points, so these few frames, are actually normal speed. The time between the first frame, the first keyframe and the second keyframe is also normal space. Between these two, at the moment, it is normal space. But if I drag these out and keep them together, This will still be normal speed, so the time between these two. The time between the first and the second will also be normal speed, but this one, between the second and the third, will actually be stretched, because I made it from 2 frames into what is now, hang on, 309 to 319, so now it's 10 frames, which means it moves 5 times as slow, which is an interesting effect, because it does, well, really time stretch. It kind of puts it into slow motion. And here you can see it at work. It becomes a very interesting effect if you put that into certain compositions. Sometimes it just looks completely ridiculous, and I don't know which one this is. So I'm going to put this time stretch layer, so with the exact same properties, I'm going to put it up here and just make multiples of it and see what's happening. And you can see it can be a pretty nice effect, especially if you have the right offset, which I accidentally chose here, by the way, because, well, it did seem to work out, but I didn't really pay any attention. I just lined it up with this keyframe. So let's make quite a lot of them, actually. You can select all of them, duplicate them, just drag them to the top, and now they're already offset by the same amount that we had. So you only have to offset them once, and now you have quite a few of them. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. Nice, right? And if you want to see what's happening, just hit U, or just hit U to collapse all of it back. And so, yeah, we have some things now, and let's end it at that, I guess. We can do so much more with this, but I think I showed you everything that you need to make your own very awesome thing. And let's take the entire thing here, by the way, Control A, and move it up by a few frames. Let's say 15 frames. I like to have half a second of silence for people to actually realize they started the video before things start to happen, and obviously you need to get the background back in there. But now it's half a second of silence, and then the craziness starts. And of course you can amplify this by adding sound effects, you can amplify this by making different colors, you can do all kinds of things. I've showed everything that you need to make this into an awesome animation. And if you made something with this tutorial, please leave me a comment. Allow me to see what you made, and yeah, to admire whatever creation you have just brought into this world. It would be so awesome to see what people can make. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and I will see you next time.